Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. Excuse me, right off the bat, universe. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, happiness specialist, global happiness specialist, and inner peace practitioner, Rebecca L. Norrington. Thank you for sharing the show. Thank you for being here. Wow, to all the new followers, new listeners. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happiness specialist. Who does she think she is? Who is she? Well, just very briefly, I do a brief introduction before the show starts. This is especially for all the new people following. So my listeners that have been listening for a while, please just have a little bit of patience while I introduce myself properly to the new listeners. Happiness specialist, reality spirituality. Before I go on, I want to say that I'm opening the call lines. You can call in and ask your questions, make a comment. The number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. Call in, ask your question. I have a few people in the queue. If you want to speak with me live, just raise your hand. There's a little button with the hand. Click on that, raise your hand, and I will come to you and invite you on the show. Lord have mercy. It's been a really interesting, jam-packed, hectic, lot of doing morning. I woke up early and there's a lot of doing, hence the title of today's show. But before I go on and speak about the topic of the show today, which is being versus doing. Being versus doing, being versus doing to become, being just to be. Big difference. There's a big vibrational shift. You can feel it too. But just for my new listeners, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me share my definition of happiness. My definition of happiness is to have the ability to be at peace. To be at peace, to have the ability, to be able to vibrate peace regardless of what is happening, regardless of the storms that life brings us, regardless of the ups, regardless of the downs. My definition of happiness is the ability to be at peace regardless of what happens. And happiness is a state of mind. It is a state in mind. It is a vibration. It's an energy. It's a vibration that I'm focusing on, that I'm talking about. It's a foundation. And when I say happiness is a practice skill, that means anyone that is committed to and prioritizes and is serious about wanting to experience more happiness can. Happiness is a practice skill, meaning anyone can practice it. Anyone, when you, the individual, you, the person in the mirror, when you, like I did decades ago, get to a certain point and say, you know what? This isn't this isn't working. I thought that I would feel there's going to be more to this. And when I say all that, let me just go back. Let me just back up just a little bit. I thought there would be more. Let me just speak for myself. I just remember years ago when I say years ago, decades ago, making a wish, setting a goal, having an intention. It was always the same thing. I wanted to live to my potential, regardless of what that looked like. I didn't know what that would look like, not regardless, but I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't have any idea, live to my potential. But I knew I wanted to live to my potential, whatever that meant. And I wanted to be happy. And this search for happiness has taken me decades and decades to discover the truth about happiness. And the truth about happiness, and you know it, it has nothing to do with anything out there. It has nothing to do with what you've accomplished. It has nothing to do with a goal that you've achieved. It has nothing to do with your financial state. It has nothing to do with the state of your relationship or your traveling or your bank account or your health. What I'm talking about is a vibration that is not a vibration or an energy that is not determined by anything that happens. Crazy, huh? Crazy. Nothing has to happen. Nothing has to happen. The focus of the energy, not the focus of the energy, but the energy is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens, what someone says, what someone doesn't say. A promise is made. A promise is not made. A promise isn't kept. Let me ask you this question. What is your relationship? What is your personal relationship with the universe? Do you have a personal relationship? Meaning, a relationship is conversation, back and forth, hey, what's up, guidance, talking, feeling, vibrating. So the first thing is, what is the status of your relationship with the universe? I say universe. Some people use different terms for that. God, source, spirit, higher power. What is your relationship with the universe? That's a question that only you can answer. And the reason why I ask that question is, along my journey, don't think I'm up here by myself trying to figure this stuff out. I ask for guidance, help, direction all the time, all throughout the day. Universe, how do I? Universe, how do I? Universe, inspire me. It was so funny, and even the smallest things. I know I'm getting off track, but let me just throw this story in. So this was this week. Reality Spirituality. That's what the show's about. Real life. So this week I misplaced my the mailbox keys. Now, this is a very, very, it's a security mailbox. It's really interesting living in a big city versus a small town. Now I've got a security mailbox, so it has to be locked. It has to be locked. Locked and open, locked and open. It's very, very secure. And there's the keys to this mailbox. You just can't, well, let me get a spare key. No, these are very expensive keys, and one of the things that my landlord told me, she said, don't lose the mailbox key. Don't lose the mailbox key. It's a special security mailbox. It's a special key. Don't lose it. It's very expensive. So guess what happens? 3 days ago, I'm looking for the mailbox key, and of course I can't find it. Looking all the way all throughout. There's only a few pieces of clothing that I wear in a matter of 2 or 3 days. Looking through all the pockets, jean pockets, sweatshirt pockets, jacket pockets, through the car, on and on and on and on, looking, searching, can't find it. So I just have a dial up the universe. Hey, I know, can you help me out with this? Not to help me find the keys. Yeah, I mean, finding the keys is great, thank you. But what I ask for help with, is how do I remain relaxed and at peace, looking for these keys that I was told not to lose? How do I breathe, inhale, exhale? Now, when I say how do I, of course I know how, just deep breaths. And the bottom line is this, the thoughts are this. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is I have to spend $100 for a security key for another security key for a mailbox. My point is the relationship with the universe. And when I ask the universe, okay, universe, how do I vibrate peace through all of this? Looking, and you know, if you've lost something, like I have, I looked in the same spot at least 3 times, maybe 3 to 5 times. You know, when you look and then you go back and look again, and you go back and you look again, and you go back and look again, and it's still not there, that kind of craziness. Point is, throughout the day I was having conversations. The universe, I don't know if you want me to find the keys. I don't know if you don't want me to find the keys. But regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be okay either way. And thank you, universe, for this opportunity, because for whatever reason, things that happen are happening for my betterment, and I want to say thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for the experience of losing these keys. I don't know why, but I want to say I trust, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to experience this with a different vibration, from a different vibration that I would have felt 5 years ago, 2 years ago. The topic of today's show is doing versus being. And the reason why I chose this topic, and we've talked about this before, the question is, why are you doing so much? Why are you doing so much? And the reason why I'm asking, why are you doing so much, is because you are the only person that can answer that question. Isn't that powerful? I can't answer that for you. I mean, there were times when I thought I could. I can't answer that for you. But why are you doing so much? The journey, the practice, when I say happiness is the practice skill, the practice is let me just speak for myself. The practice is becoming more and more aware, and making different choices, totally different choices than what my starved ego wants. Let me give you an example. Of the doing versus the being. The doing, and this is my personal lesson that I'm really wrapping and embracing quite recently. The doing to become, or doing for, in other words, what is the reason for my doing? Is it boredom? Is it to keep busy? Is it to share? Is it to build? Is it to satisfy? Is it to show? Is it not to show? Whatever project or whatever you're doing, and I'm not talking about working. I'm not talking about a 9 to 5, of course. I'm talking about that time where you focus in on your gift or your gifts or your purpose or your creativity. The focus is on your gifts, your creativity. Let me just go right to the example. If you listen to the show, you know I'm working on my second book. It's called Programmed for Unhappiness. And this book has been I've been writing this book for years now, years. And when I started writing the book, there was a different intention, let's just say 4 years ago, 3 years ago, a different intention, a different perspective of why I was inspired to write the book. That question, why, is an important question for me. It's because now I can discern the difference between my ego, what my ego wants, what my ego desires, how my ego is intertwined in writing the book, finishing the book. When I say starving the ego, I am very serious about that. The starving of the ego, the more meaning that my ego wants something, and I know the difference. I could feel the difference. What my ego wants and what the universe inspires me to do or not do. And that is the topic of today's show. If you're doing to become, or you're doing to feel a certain way, or if you're doing so that you can feel differently, or feel something about you or your accomplishments, I'm here to tell you that a fish doesn't need to go to school to learn how to become a fish. You are perfect. You are enough right now. That is the topic of today's show. That is really the point, is you are enough right now. There is nothing that you need to do so that you will be fill in the blank. Now, of course, that could be debated. Let's talk about confidence. And I'm using air quotes here, confidence. What if, and I don't really do hypotheticals, but this one I'm going to have to. What if someone says, well, I want to gain more confidence. I want to gain more confidence. Well, what is behind all of that? What is the next move? What is the action step? What do you do to gain confidence? And what is confidence anyway? But just a dressed up way to say self-acceptance. When there's self-acceptance, when you practice self-acceptance, confidence is not even self-acceptance. There's an air, there's a vibration, there's an energy walking around, feeling, you know what? I'm okay. I feel pretty good about that person in the mirror. You know what? Thank you, universe. Thank you for me and all all of my nuances and all of my little unique little idiosyncrasies, I didn't say idiosyncrasies, idiosyncrasies. Thank you for all of it, universe. That self-acceptance, when the practice is over and over and over and over, time, months, years, it's easy. I said it before. A fish doesn't need to go to fish school to learn how to be a fish. Let's go back to the doing versus the being. The example of why. Why are you? What is the reasoning behind it? One of the things that I hear a lot is this word legacy, to leave a legacy. And I've talked about it before. No judgment here. Leave your legacy. But I want to say that legacy word, that legacy, that vibration, that intention, is that, no, I'm not even going to say it. Is that universal, or is that a product of the ego or the mind? It's really about picking a team, picking what team you're on, picking what team you want to follow, picking what team you're a fan of, picking what team that is going to bring you the most peace. Picking a team, universe versus man-made, universe versus human, universal versus human. When I say when I ask the question, why are you doing so much, or what is the reasoning behind all of the doing? That question, when I said can only be answered by you, that question is a question I ask myself in every single moment. What am I doing, and why am I doing it? And it's such an easy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's an easy way to determine who's driving that car, who's steering the ship. Being versus doing. One of the things about being, one of the practices when you're practicing being, there is no room. There is no room. You're traveling on an airline, then you can only take one carry-on. There is no room for a carry-on in being. There is no room for the past, to discuss it, to think about it, to even give it, hey, what's up, past? And there's no room for the future. When you're in a state of being, you're in high alert. Let me just talk for myself. I'm in high alert, waiting patiently for inspiration. Waiting for inspiration. What's next? What's next, universe? And the question becomes, do you have the patience to wait for inspiration? Sometimes inspiration takes a while. The doing versus the being. The doing versus the being. The only thing that I want to let's see, how do I say this? To be aware of is just becoming more aware. Becoming more aware of the different messages, lessons, messages, information. I'm just looking over my notes really quick because I write a few notes down, and sometimes I forget to say what I wanted to say. Let me just add this. Ask this question. This is a constant. This life is constantly giving us things that we want, things that we don't want. Things that our ego, let me scratch that. Things that the ego says yes, things that the ego says no. The question becomes, how are you living it? How are you living the journey? How are you living the journey, your journey? When I say happiness is a practice skill, it is like any other skill, and it is a daily practice. And so the question you want to ask yourself is, are you ready to prioritize committing to making happiness? And when I say happiness, it is a vibration, it is a state, it is an energy, a vibration of, it's a vibration of peace. It's vibrating peace in every moment. It's vibrating peace in every moment. So the first part of the practice is recognizing all of the programming and recognizing the common everyday behaviors that subtract from happiness and eliminate them one by one. Believing words have power, having attachments, noticing what someone else is doing, impatient, comparing yourself to others, worrying, blaming the circumstance or a person for how you feel, having expectations, the list goes on and on, rushing, allowing your ego to dictate your behavior, needing to be right, criticizing yourself or others, focusing on or paying attention to numbers, having regrets, thinking life has to be fair, thinking that you're wasting time, having an agenda, thinking there's something that you should do. I always say there's nothing I should do, only what I'm inspired to do. Thinking there's something that you should do. Identifying with your body. Having a cause. Complaining, being embarrassed, resisting the moment, judging. We already talked about living in the past, living in the future. All of those activities subtract from peace, subtract from your happiness, subtract. When I say happiness is a practice skill, the doing, doing does not subtract from happiness. Unless you're doing to become happy, unless you're doing to become or to feel valuable, or if you're doing to for a sense of completion, complete. You don't need anything to complete you. You are more than enough. You are everything you need to be in this moment. There is nothing you need to do, should do, only what you're inspired to do. So the first part of the practice is eliminating the behaviors that subtract from happiness, and the second part of the practice is embracing and cultivating those behaviors that have been proven to add to happiness. Trusting, being okay with uncertainty, surrendering to the moment, letting go of needing to be right, humbling the ego, being yourself, choosing your perspective, acceptance of self and others. It's a practice. I'm only pausing because I want to share a story. I want to share a personal story that just happened midweek, another story. This isn't about the keys, another story that had a profound effect on me. There are a few people that I've known that I know that I still stay in contact with, that I have known for decades. 45 years. I have someone that I've known for 55 years. Someone that I've known for 50 years. Of this person I've known for 45 years. 45 years. And in all, and just for full disclosure, I never this is really interesting. I just have to spit it out. I never thought too highly of them. And let me just give you the story. And when I say not too highly, the words are just so tricky. But what that means is wow, this is really truthful. Because I'm going into my head, because I know that whatever I call them and whatever I point and label them, then I'm really speaking about myself. So my point is, then I wasn't a big deal. At that time, I didn't think too highly of myself either. How's that? And that is the truth. 45 years ago, yes, that is the truth, did not think too highly of myself either. I didn't know that, but my behaviors were very, very evident of that. Yeah, not thinking too highly. And how do I know? Because there's always some kind of drama. I'm ready to argue. I was always right. I'm judgmental. There was never peace in my life. Are you kidding? I wasn't interested in peace. Not interested. So now that I'm saying that, didn't think too much of, or didn't think too highly. So the truth is, I didn't think highly of myself. That's really the truth. I just love confessions. I just love it. I really do, because when you really get down to the truth, it's very humbling. But that's the only way that's going to take you to the light. So 45 years ago, I didn't feel good about myself. Let me make this damn story about me. I love it. And of course, I've known this person for 45 years, and we talk from time to time throughout the year. And I learned something about them, learned something different. They told me a story. You know how you know someone so well that if they said, okay, so say somebody that's not a public speaker, or they're shy, or they wouldn't want to talk in front of a group of people. Say a person like that does not feel very uncomfortable getting on stage and speaking. I just the only thing I could think of. So someone that's like that, and and you've known them for 45 years. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to raise my hand. No, I'm not going to go up on stage. No. I don't like that. I'm too uncomfortable. It makes me anxious, on and on and on. And then you find out that they've given an hour speech, an hour speech at some resort in Europe. That's what I'm talking about. Finding out someone that you've known for 45 years plus, that they overcame, or they've gotten to another level where I never ever, in fact, I would have bet money that they wouldn't have gotten up on stage in an hour speech in a foreign country. Number one, they don't like traveling. Number two, they're scared to death of speaking in public. I think public speaking is one of the biggest fears. So that's what I'm talking about. Someone that you've known, and you know them like you know them the back of your hand for decades, and all of a sudden they did a 180, complete turnaround. If they were afraid of the water, they took swimming lessons. If they were afraid of heights, they bungee jumped. If they were afraid to fly, they're learning how to fly a plane. That kind of what? You're doing what? And let me tell you what that taught me. Let me share with you the shift, the profound shift. Number one, stay open and stop acting like I know something. Stop acting like I know what someone else would or would not do, because I've known them for 45 years. Number two, there's a humbleness. There's a humbling to not knowing. And for me, there's a humbling to not knowing. And especially when I studied for 45 years. And you're going to tell me, no, I don't know them? But no. And the universe brought me a message. And they said, anybody that you say that you, and this is just you, out there, anyone that you have an issue with, a challenge with, or maybe even hate, disagree with, can't stand to be around, all of that, those kind of people. I'm going to throw this out. Number one, all of that dislike, disdain towards someone else, again, is a reflection. It comes all the way back to it is a reflection of who you are and how you roll through this thing we call life. Not liking, pointing the finger, finding fault with, finding blame, it really is a reflection of the person pointing. I know, I don't like it either. I don't. But I'm discovering that, or discovered that, if there is someone that I have some kind of conflict with, back and forth, it's only because I don't know enough. It's only because I don't have all the information. It's only because the universe has not given me the same perspective as theirs in this moment. because the universe is all accepting. The sun shines on the serial killer and the Pope. The universe is all accepting. And the only reason why I'm just speaking for myself, and I could be wrong because I don't know, open to not knowing. The reason why that there is any kind of conflict is my own internal conflict. And the second is I just don't have all the information. The universe hasn't provided all the information to me, for me. It's just not time. And that's when you get into the trusting, the practicing trust without information, without any kind of definitive. Just practice trust. Doing versus being. Doing is fine, but are you doing to become something, or to add to, or because you need to, or you think you're supposed to, or you're obligated to? I'm here to tell you that you are enough. You are enough. A fish does not need to go to school to learn how to swim. You are enough, just like you are. You don't need to add anything. You don't need to subtract anything. You are enough. And it's just ask the universe, hey, universe, how do I accept that? How do I accept that I am enough? How do I do without thinking that I need to become? How can I just be? How can I feel that satisfaction, that balance, the satisfaction, the vibration of satisfaction, just being? How can I be okay with just being? Just being. What did he do today? Do? I didn't do. I just beed. Well, that's the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality Radio, the truth about happiness, is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. LinkedIn, I have an Instagram handle, Reality Spirituality. I have a couple of videos on YouTube. And that, of course, is always a work in progress. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon.com. And my second book, Program for Unhappiness, is going to be out sometime this year. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving. You're always changing. You're always growing. Love is patient. And love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Global Happiness Specialist Rebecca L. Norrington, Inner Peace Practitioner. And remember, happiness is a practice skill. The more you practice, the more you'll experience more happiness, peace, contentment in your own life. Have a conscious week. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we get real. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you're gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about.
Time to get real.